next phase is nothing but the start phase. So what is the start phase is going to do? Start phase is going to say the how the project, how, what is the participants, how many participants is required. So who is going to who is going to be in which part of the project, who is going to be in the development phase, who is going to be in the testing phase, like that, dividing the peoples into teams. So everything will be done in your start phase. Next phase is your means steady state phase. So what is the steady state, excuse me, steady state phase is decides that. So how we are going to implement it means tracking the status of the developers. Status in the sense, for after 1 month how much is completed, so after 1.5 months how much is completed. So that and all will be calculated, and it is going to record it or document it in your steady state. Means the development phase, phase by phase, the development, what is the status of the development will be recorded and documented using your steady state. So the last state is your project termination phase. So once your complete project is done, your system is done, your system is tested, everything is completed, you're going to deliver that to your client. At the time, the phase is called as your termination phase. Here you have to write the complete technical informations, what and all is required to give it to the end user, how to use it. So everything, what are the extra softwares is required for that particular system to use this particular project. So all these things will be done using your termination phase. So for project, there are 4 phases. One is definition phase, then start phase, steady state phase, and termination phase. In definition phase, they are going to decide what are the project architecture, how your project is going to be involved, what is the type of a client we are going to involve, and initial understanding of all the software. Everything is done in your definitions phase. So to whom this project is going to be useful, how much it is going to be useful, all these things is comes under your definition phase. So once I have decided this is the project I'm going to do, for these people I'm going to do it, these are the client, these are the requirements, everything is done, then I'm going to start the project. So in the start phase, what I'm trying to do it, I'm trying to find out what are the segments, subsystems, and who and all is going to involved in that particular subsystems, and how much it is going to, how long it is going to take, what is the task I have to assign. Everything will be done in your start phase. Next, the steady state is going to say the status of your project. Status of a project means after 1 week how much is completed, after 2 weeks how much is completed, like that. For every week by week or a month by month, the schedule will be the status will be updated about the implementation of the project. Once your project is completely implemented, it is tested, then it is goes to the termination state, where the project is going to be handed over to the end user. For end user, you have to give what type of a software is required, how it is going to execute, the training phase, everything is comes under your termination phase. Until this is clear, 2 things. One is planned communication, another one is unplanned communication. So what and all will be included in the planned communication? First is problem inspection, status meeting, peer review, client and project review, release. So what is mean by problem inspection in the sense? So during the development of the project, the client have to understand, or the user have to understand exactly for what this project is being implemented, their needs. Generally, if I'm saying their needs, if particular needs is not being fulfilled in your project, then that point have to be included in your project. That is called as project inspection. For example, if you're already developed a project for 1 month, after 1 month you will be having a session with your client, to whom you are going to show that so much project is completed, these are the things we have involved. So sometimes they may say, instead of integer, use string for reading a USN number. Instead of integer, you use float for reading a marks. So that have to be considered in the next level of implementing. So that comes under your problem inspection. Next is status meeting. Status meeting, as I told you, after 1 month, how much your project is completed, the progress of your project is comes as your status meeting. Next comes is your peer review. Peer in the sense the same level, the team members. It's called as your peer. So the team members will have their own discussion. They will be sharing their technical view, and they have to find out the defects, and they have to find out the solution for the particular defects. So it is like to your level, team members have the communication, that is called as peer reviews. Mostly peer reviews will be happen often because the technical information have to be shared among themselves to do implementation of that particular task. Next is client and project review. So as I told you in the problem inspection itself, after every level there will be a client or project member review to your work product to finalize that whether their requirement is met inside the project. So like that you will be having a client and project review. Next is release. So release is after completing everything, you're making the project to be available for the client and the end user. So that's comes as your release. So before release also you will be having a presentation showing to the end user how to use the project. The training session will be conducted. All these things will comes under your release. So these are called as your planned communication. Means that this is under structure. For after 10 days you have to go for problem inspection. After 2 days it is like timetable. It's very simple, like it is timetable. So this week you have to do this, next week you have to do this, at this point at particular time 12 o'clock you have this meeting, 1 o'clock you have this meeting. Like that, if you're scheduled something, then it is called as planned communication. If you have not scheduled anything prior, but at that point immediately you need to have certain clarification, or emergency meeting is required with your client or with your team members, then all such things that comes as your unplanned communication, right? So what is under unplanned communication is nothing but request for clarification, request for change, issue resolution. So what is that request for clarification? If you're the person who is involved in the development of your project, in certain thing you have what your project manager asks you to implement, it is not possible for you to implement. There is no method of like that to implement. Then that time you can have your request for clarification meeting, so that the team members or anybody, the domain lead or whoever it is, they will come and clarify your doubt. That is for request for clarification. And request for change. If any new feature, for example, I'm using Java for implementing, maybe Python will be better than Java to implement this project, this type of a project. You find out like that. Then you can raise for the request for change. That time the problem will be described, the problem will be analyzed by the experts, and finally whether your change can be accepted or not will be decided. Next, issue resolution. When you have a stake, as I told you, when you're showing certain things to your stakeholders in the sense the people who is involved inside your project. So if you're trying to show to them, they may tell that no, this is not the proper way, I want in different way. Or they can say that, but you can say that this is not possible inside Java, if you want this particular feature it should be go to Python. Like that, that negotiation is comes as your issue resolution. So finally you have to discuss which type of feature have to be accepted, which type of a requirement have to be accepted. All these things is comes under your issue resolution. And these three things is not comes under your plan because it is not been followed any schedule. Whenever you required, as a developer is required, these things will be planned. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Any doubt until this?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Next, what we are going to discuss is about the effort, that is the addressing certain activities. So if you wanted to involve in a project, the project have to start, join the project. You can see here, I can highlight it. So you can see here, when a developer joins a project, then problem statement is already existing, project meeting is already written, everything is completed. Then what are the few of the activities have to be started? Once everything is done, your planned meeting is done, your initial startup phase is completed, then you wanted to have certain activities. So what are the activities you need to have? So these activities only we are going to study in detail in the upcoming subtopics. So attend the kicks means that you have to be there as a participant in the meeting, every meeting, so that you can understand what type of problem they are trying to highlight and what type of a solution they are trying to highlight. So as a developer who is going to join into the project team, need to do certain activities. So what are the activities that person have to do? He have to attend the kickoff meetings, means that he have to attend all the meetings which is related to that particular project discussion. Next, after discussing, after deciding, after attending all the meeting, he can decide which particular team he is going to join, whether he is going to be in the development team or he is going to be in the testing team. In development team itself, there will be so many modules. In which module he is going to join, all that things have to be done. Next, after deciding the team what he is going to work, then he have to go particular training session according to that module implementation. Then he have to join to the particular communication infrastructure. So communication infrastructure is nothing but again comes as your planned and unplanned. So unplanned communication means if I had a doubt, I want to clarify it with my project manager. So that clarification can be done through your video conferencing, or it can be through your email communication, anything. So next he have to extend the communication infrastructure. He have to keep inside himself in the communication bulletin. Means that he cannot come out of the communication. Means very layman says that he have to attend all type of communication. It can be planned or unplanned. Everything he have to be involved in that. Next, first status meeting. Status meeting is nothing but he should say how much he has completed after 1 week of involving himself inside the project. So that is comes as your status meeting. Understand the review schedule. As I already told you, there may be a planned schedule. So he have to understand after 1 month what he have to exactly show to his project manager. After 1.5 months, what exactly he have to show to his team leader. Like that, he have to understand the schedule. So he should know what exactly should be done to the client and what exactly done to the project manager. For example, if he's having a meeting with the project manager, he can just explain the code, what he has written line by line, how he has written line by line, everything. But the same thing is not required when he wants to discuss with its client. Client doesn't wanted to know what type of code you used or how many lines you used it. Nothing. He doesn't want all such things. He wants to know whether his requirement is met inside his project or not. So at that time, the person have to explain is requirement is met or not by executing or showing certain things. No need to explain line by line the code what he has implemented. So that is the understand the review schedule. So these are the overview of project. If you have a project, what and all will be there, and what are the activities have to be done through a participant inside a project, and what are the tasks they have to do, what is formal informal meeting, what is communication, everything. Until this is clear?
Yes, ma'am.
No doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Next topic, what we are going to discuss is about your project organization concept. So here comes 4 things. One is project organization. Next comes your role, task, and work product schedule. So little detail information about this. There may be a question, explain project organization concept. Or they may ask you to write, explain the following in detail. 1, roles. 2, schedule. Like that also they may ask you to write it. Right? So here the organization concept is of 4 types. One is project organization, roles, task, and work product schedule. So first comes your project organization. So what is project organization? The project organization is defined with the relationship of the participants. So the participants who and all is involved in the task or schedule or the work product, their relationship is shown using your project organization. In your team based organization means there will be a set of people who is involved in the particular task doing the same type of task, or within the group the task may be different but they have to combine all the tasks to complete a given project. Like that also may be there. So the participants inside the teams are grouped. It can be small or it can be a big team also. What is group and what is committee? So they are two different things you can have over here. That is, what is group? In the sense, as I told you, individually they will be working without need to have any communication to their particular task. Means a group of people will be doing a individual task. They no need to have any communication, or they may be belongs to the same type of project, and they may have a common task also. So if they are doing a common task, then it is called as group. And what is a committee? In the sense, a committee is people come together to review. Committee in the sense, for example, audit committee. So once you're done with your work, audit committee people will come and say that your work, whatever you have done, is correct. So what is the exact difference between group and committee? Group is a people who is going to do a work, but committee is a, that is also a group of people who is going to evaluate your work, whether you did it correct or not. That is the difference between your group and a committee, right? So what is exactly a team based organization will be? A team based organization is nothing but, a team is an aggregation of a participants, and organization is nothing but an aggregation of a team. There may be many participants to a team, and there may be many team to an organization. So that is the meaning of it. And to show an organization's simple project, they have shown a diagram here. This is a simple project organization. So what and all can be there inside your simple project organization? You can have a management team, user interface team, database team, control team. So what is the management team means? What this management team will do?
Ma'am, it provide resources.
Okay, provide resources. He will tell at what time they have to complete the project. Everything is comes under your management team. What is user interface team?
Will interact with the user to collect the requirements.
Okay, that is very layman thing. Any other way? Any other thing? Any other thing related to user interface?
In what way user
Provide
can?
you the application front end. That is also called as your user interface, UI. API, UI, you have remembered?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So as you told that, the team can be either the person or a particular group of people who is going to communicate with the external client and get the information, right? The next, database team, who is going to implement the storage equipments, how the data have to be stored, what is the way of the storages, how much it should require, all that things is comes as your database team. Control team. Control team. Yes.
Ma'am, it controls the activities of each and every group. Like what should be done and what is the time limit, what should be the budget. Everything is with the control team.
Exactly like control team in the sense, actually the management team will be doing the same. The management team will be providing you the resources, the amount, when they have to complete, everything will be done. So to monitor whether these activities are happening in proper timing, whether the resources are utilizing, the monitoring team, that comes as your control team. The resources assignment or the resources requirements, everything will be there with your management team. Whether they are utilizing this properly or not will come as your control team. Very simple, if I'm saying this Zoom class is there, what management team would have decided, all the faculty have to conduct the Zoom classes and the schedule is given, everything is done. So how it have to be done, what is the requirement? I'm saying my chat session should be visible, my screen should be visible, that's all comes under your user interface session. Then the recording, whatever we are recording have to be stored, the how much storage is required, that comes as your storage team. Whether this is properly happening or not, whether the scheduling is happening or not, to monitor that, your HODs are there, that HODs are comes under your control team. So they are going to monitor whether the limited resources are utilized, whether the classes are going on properly. All these things comes under your control team. Is it clear? So only these teams are possible in a project? No. This is an example. You may have this number of teams or you may have any number of teams also. No problem. But for an example, they have given these 4 teams can be there. Right? So next, the project participants will interact with each other. So there may be 3 major types of interaction. So if 2 people are there in your class, you people have to decide or discuss among the project. So what are the type of discussions can be? The discussions can be of 3 types. One is reporting, another one is decision, another one is communication. So what is mean by reporting? What is mean by reporting?
Ma'am, like how much task is done, that should be in some document format, that is called as reporting.
Yes. So once you have assigned with your, for example, you are given with a seminar topic. So after 2-3 days, what your faculty may ask, they may ask you to submit an abstract. It is in the written form. They will be asking you to submit an abstract. Then they will be asking you to submit a PPT. Then they may ask you to submit a PDF format of your report, seminar, technical seminar report. Like that, for everything, every time you have to submit a report states that what exactly is your discussion is about what you're going to do it, all the things in the form of a document you have to submit it. That is comes as your reporting interaction. Another one is decision. So what is the decisions comes here? At what time you can have your delivery. But another person case says that no, I can't complete my task within the given schedule because I have a problem in my project. There may be a different feature is required to my particular module implementation. Then you will be finally discussing that and deciding it. Okay, this may be extended to so and so, and you are going to give the information to your team leader after your peer discussion. So that comes as your decision. You're going to decide certain thing which is already decided. You're trying to change the decision. That comes as your decision interaction. Another one is just communication. So just a communication in the sense you're just having a normal conversation or a normal information exchange to say that this particular things can be decided like this, or this instead of this feature you can include this feature in your project. Because if I'm dividing my project into module and by module, all the modules have to be integrated together to finally give me the project. So one module should have a connectivity path to the another module, so that a module member, another module member can have a discussion. So this communication discussion no need to be formal or planned. It can be informal also. Just like that, you can have a communication and decide on certain features what you're going to follow. So these are the 3 different ways of interaction. One, reported way of interaction. Another one, to decide certain decision, you can have an interaction. Another way, it can be a normal communication to decide on the features what you're going to implement in your project. That can come as your 3 different types of interactions. Next, when you're having an hierarchical communication, the hierarchical communication is always called as reporting structure. So what is the hierarchical communication? In the sense, the management will decide what you have to do, and to management you have to report what you have did. That is called as your management reporting structure or hierarchical decision making. So what the one diagram is shown here, simple. There is a management team who decides. Here you can see that communicate decision, the arrow mark. So the decision will always be given by the management team. So after your completion, what is the progress? The status of the progress will be communicated from the second level team to the management. The arrow mark says that from this control team, the status have to be implemented to the management team. This is called as hierarchical decision implementation. This is unidirectional. You cannot change the direction. There is no mutual communication between your management and to the another teams. Whatever management says, you have to accept and do that. That is called as reporting structure. So there is certain problem in the your reporting structure. So they are literally they may have an they can move to the another type of a communication structure which is called as liaison. So liaison in the sense they have a mutual communication between the higher level teams to the lower level teams. Your management says that for one day you need to conduct 7 hours of theory session.
But if it is an hierarchical thing, there is no other opposition answer for this particular information. But if it is a liaison communication, then the particular team, any team, it can be user interface team or a control team, can state that 7 hours of data usage will be huge, so students cannot attend the classes, so you can reduce the number of sessions. So if you have a mutual communication for any of the problem, then it is called as liaison. If it is follows in hierarchical structure of decision, then it is called as reporting structure. So this example is shows about your reporting structure, and this example shows about your liaison based communication. Here, an user interface team can have a communication with any of these teams. So there may be, if you want to document, the user interface team wanted to know about certain documentation requirement, then it can have a communication with the documentation team. Then if you want to have any discussion with the management, you can have a management discussion. So here there is no restriction. The communication is not restricted only from the higher level to the lower level. Here the communication can be to any form. They have decided what is the responsibility, what a management can do, and the management decision can also be changed by the down level teams. So which is also called as cross-functional teams. So here the subsystem, the management team, architecture team, documentation team, testing teams are all cross-functional teams communication. So any team can communicate with anything else. For example, if your testing team have found certain error, so before documenting that error, the testing team can communicate to the documentation team and says that there is a particular error, so don't document this in this the end user manual, don't document this particular error in the end user manual. Like that, they can have a mutual communication, which is called as liaison based communication, which is a non-hierarchical communication. So the hierarchical communication is called as reporting structure, and non-hierarchical communication is called as a liaison. Means it can have both the side communication. That is, negotiation is possible to decide something. This is called as your project organization. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Next comes your roles. I think the roles is nothing but the person who is involved in the project will take one particular role. If he is a manager, he takes a manager role. If he is a developer, he takes a developer role. If he is a client, he takes a client. So like that, there is different types of roles. Similarly, in your role, we have 4 different types of role. One is management role, development role, cross-functional role, consultant role. So management role is nothing but a project manager who is going to decide, a team leader who is going to decide how the project have to be executed, how the project, what are the requirements, everything will be given through the management role. Development role is nothing but the person who is going to implement the project. He can design how the project should be, how the object should be, how the implementation should be. All these things comes under your development role. Next comes as your cross-functional role. So cross-functional role is nothing but your liaison role. As I told you, cross-functional role is nothing but a person who can have the communication to any number of team. Then he is called as your cross-functional role. So I'll just, before going to the next role, I'll just brief it out. You can see an example here. Types of roles found in your software engineering. So there can be 4 different types of role. Developer role, liaison. Liaison is nothing but your cross-functional role. Next, manager role and consultant role. So first is your developer role. Developer role is nothing but who can be the developer, the people who is involved in designing, subsystem designing or any architecture designing, any object decision, everything, implementation, testing, all that peoples will come under your development team. And cross-functional team. Before cross-functional, I'll just show you the manager. So manager role is that he can have to manage the project, and the project manager can also be a team leader for a particular module in your project. And cross-functional, in cross-functional, you can have 4 different types of roles. One is application programming interface engineer. That is, as we discussed, he's going to be the front end who is having the communication between the client and to the project, to your back end of your project. Then document editor who is going to document what are the operations are done, how the operations are done, how many methods are there, how many variables are there. All these things will be documented using document editor. Configuration manager is nothing but who is going to say that how much resources is required for this particular module, how much resources is mean to be used by the particular module. All these things comes under your configuration manager. Next, tester who is going to test your project after completing the execution with all the requirements required by your the end user. So these are the 4 cross-functional roles. Next, consultant role. So what is consultant role is that if any people, means that I don't know about Java, I'm involved in the project implementation, but I need a support. I need some other person who is expert in this particular programming language who can help me. That type of peoples are called as consultant peoples, who is going to give you the additional knowledge about your project. You can implement like this, you can implement like this, like that. They are going to give you an additional information, who is expertise in that particular area. Those peoples are called as your consultant. So who and all can be your consultant? Your client, your end user, an application domain specialist, solution domain specialist. So who is your client? Who is your client is nothing but who is going to ask you to implement the project, who is going to provide you the requirement. He is going to be one of the consultant, because he is giving you the knowledge what are the things is involved in your project, how you have to implement your project. Next, end user is nothing but the person who is going to use your project. Even your client can also be your end user. He may ask the project to for himself to be used, so that time your client can also be your end user. Next, application domain experts. So he is providing the knowledge about the functional area. Is going to give you what are the requirements, the functionality requirements. If you want to implement a calculator program, what and all a calculator program is need to have, how it can be implemented, all that application related informations will be given through the application domain specialist. This solution domain specialist, nothing but there may be n number of problem. So n number of problem will have n number of solutions. So which solution will be apt for that particular problem will be decided, or will be given enrichment over to that particular problem is done by your solution domain experts. So these are the roles which is played inside your project. So you can see these are the roles which is going to be play inside your project. Next is about your task and work product. As we already know, task is nothing but a piece of work or any work you're going to do it. According to the work, you're going to produce or give some output in the form of a product. That is called as your work product. So whenever you're trying to do some task, it's nothing but an activity. A group of activities is nothing but, group of tasks are related to an activity. So if I want to produce a product, what are the group of activities I have to do? An example they have shown here. This is a database subsystem. So this is one of the work product, one of the product. If you want to get this product, you need to do certain tasks. So first task is persistent object. What is mean by persistent object? In a sense, it is going to decide that exactly what and all you are going to store in your database, how many tables will be there, each table will be consist of so many rows and columns. All that things will be given in the form of persistent object. In case if I missed any persistent object connectivity, if I missed any persistent object table, then that will be shown in the form of design object. If any missed things in your persistent object can be shown in the form of design objects. When you are, if I'm saying that I need five modules to complete this project, but once I started designing, once I started doing my class diagram, once I started doing my activity diagram, I'll come to know instead of 5 modules, I can divide this into 6 modules. So, but 5 module is already shown in the persistent object, but I need further another one module to be included in your design object. That is also possible. This is design object. Then your source code is nothing but the code what you're going to write for your project. When you're having any problem with that source code, means that I have first, after 1 month, I have seen your source code and I told you these are the defects. That defects is nothing but inspection defects that will be documented. After 2 months, I wanted to check your code. That time I will be checking whether these defects are overcome or not. That is comes as your testing defects, whether that defects are overcome or not. And after overcoming, what are the other types of defects is still existing, that will be noted down in your testing defects. And how the testing should be done, whether it is a black box testing or white box testing, what are the requirements should be considered while testing, all these things comes under your test plan. So this is a simple task which are connected to form a work product. So you can have any number of tasks like that. So here they have given a complete work product and what are the type of your work product, and explanation about the work product is given. So here a simple, the same thing. If you have a product, work product, it can be deliverable work product or internal work product. So deliverable work product means the product which you're going to give it to the end user for using. Internal work product means it is only for the internal purpose. As I told you, after 1 month, if you're showing the status of a project, then that project is called as your internal work product. After three months, your project is completely done. If you're going to deliver to the end user, then that product is called as your deliverable work product. So now the work product or any of the task or work packages. So how the work packages is being described. The work packages is consist of unit of works. The unit of works is result in a work product. The unit of work may be a task. There can be multiple tasks done by a single role, or multiple tasks is assigned to a single role. Role in the sense can be a manager or a developer or a consultant or a liaison, anybody. So it can assign to any particular role. And this unit of work is an aggregation of an activity. Any number of work is an aggregation of an activity. So this is simple. They have showed you a simple UML class structure of a work package. If you want to do certain work, how the work have to be decided. A work package is shown. The next is schedule. Schedule, as we discussed, it will be saying that when your project have to be completed, within what time your project have to be completed. If you're saying my project overall time is required 3 months, so within 3 months, how you are going to complete your project. So that is comes as your schedule. So in schedule, we have so many things. There are two different ways of scheduling shown here. One is Gantt chart, another one is PERT chart. So two ways they have shown your schedule. So Gantt chart means how they are trying to show the Gantt chart. Can you see here? Storage subsystem requirement. So storage subsystem requirements is require 5 days. So 5 days means from when to when it have to be completed. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So 17th year storage subsystem have to be completed. Next, if you wanted to have a storage subsystem inspection, how many days is required? 2 days. So 2 days means which day to which date it is required. Like that, if you're showing through this pictorial representation, it is called as Gantt chart. That is bar charts, all these things is comes under your Gantt chart. Another one is PERT chart. So PERT chart, what it says is like a connection between the classes. How the class connection, the same form it is connected over here. So here the connection says that if you want to have a storage subsystem analysis, 5 days, then the date from 13th to November, you have to do it. First, this one is nothing but the index number. This index number, it is already given here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 operations are there. So 6 operation, this is the first operation. After completing the first option, I should go to the second operation, which required 5 days. So my last operation is completed under November 19th. Next, from 20th to 26th, you have to do this. So once the storage subsystem is done, you can have 3rd and 5th. So 3rd and 5th is can be the parallel time. It can start at the same time. Means testing plan and implementation of the subsystem. So whenever you have 15 days to complete, and this is 5 days to 10 days to complete. So both started at the same time only. So if you can have a parallel communication, parallel implementation also is possible. Like that, if this class type of a structure using a line connectivity, then it is called as your PERT chart. So your schedules can be shown either in the Gantt chart representation or your PERT chart representation. Is it clear until this?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
Next, what we are going to discuss is about your project communication concept. So project communication concept, only two ways of project communication is possible. One is that planned communication, another one is unplanned communication. So I already told you what is meant by planned communication. There will be, all schedule will be there. According to the schedule, you have to do certain communication, which just comes under your planned communication. So again, another one is your unplanned communication, which just comes at time when it is required. So here they have shown you a simple relationship among the communication concepts. So here I have a task. A task is aggregation. I mean, one task can be scheduled at whatever time, and one task can have any number of role people. So any number of role people is responsible for a participant, and many participant can be assigned to a single team, and one task will produce a work product, and this work product can be related to an unplanned communication event, or the schedule appears into the planned communication event, right? So what is first planned communication event? We have three things under planned communication. One is problem definition, review, and release. So what is problem definition? That is comes under your problem presentation, and only review. The second one is review. Under review we have client review, project review, peer review, status review, brainstorming, and postmortem review. Postmortem review will come after release only, because once you are given, the maintenance process is called as your postmortem review. So these are comes under review, and the third one is release. So what we will be doing under project presentation? What and all will be there in the problem presentation? First, you will be collecting the requirement. That requirement is nothing but your problem presentation. What is exactly the user required inside the project? What are the constraints? What are the system functionality? How the system functionality? What is functional requirement, non-functional requirements? All these things comes as your problem presentation. Actually, this is not required. Our problem presentation is a different way of representing a project, but this is not required for you. So once your project presentation is completed, next you're going for a client review. Why we wanted to go for a client review? As I collected some information from the client, I told you to the implementation team that these are the requirements from the client. But after finalizing my requirement, I in turn have to communicate to the client and ask whether these are the requirements is sufficient, whether you wanted to have some more requirements to be included, whether understanding between the client and the implementation team is done, is clear or not. To discuss about that, we need to have a client review. It can be if even the client review can be after the release of a work product, or it can be a mock-up, or even an evaluation or a scheduled one. Anyway, whenever you're trying to implement any requirement, before that you need to have the confirmation from the client says that yes, is fine, I need the same requirement to be included in my project. That comes as your client review. Next, project review. So project review, as I told you, you have to show the status to your project manager after 1 month, after 1.5 months. So before deliver, like that, you have to show what is the system design, how many subsystems are there, how the subsystems are connected together, how the object designs are implemented, like your UML use case diagrams, we did it, right? So all these things have to be shown to the project manager, and you have to get the approval before implementing it. So that comes as your project review. So simple example, the structure they have given in your exam, there is no need to write these structures and all. You just write the explanation points is more than sufficient. Next is peer review. Peer review, as I told you, the peer review is nothing but between the team members to share the information. They may be about your inspection. As I told you, inspection is nothing but certain features is not being addressed in your source code. That and all will be find out through your inspection. To increase the quality, or to check line by line your code, whether it is written properly or any other optimization of your code is required, all these things can be done through your peer review. Because peer is nothing but the same person or same level of your person who is involved in your project along with you, who may have a better knowledge about your project also. So you can get information from him to implement or improve the quality of your system. So the peer review have to be done to check whether the project is going in the same proper way. And next one is your status review. So we already did the status review in your project review. Project review is nothing but also your status review to check after 1 week what is done, after 2 weeks what is done. The same thing is comes here, but this time the status reviews can be with the client and the project. Here the status review focuses only on the task. The task, whatever you have did it, whatever you have completed, so many months, whatever you have did it, whether you have any defect to that. If you have any defect, how the defect is overcome. So if you have any problem, what is the solution you have adapted for overcoming this problem. So if I wanted to take this particular solution inside my problem, what is the effectiveness will be improved, what is the effectiveness inside my project. All these things have to be discussed in your status review. So when you're discussing with a project review is also discussing about the status review, but at that time you're showing every line by line code execution, or you can say that after 1 month I have completed so and so everything. But this status review is about if your particular program is having any problem, how you can optimize that particular problem. If that problem have n number of solution, how the solution can be optimized. All these things have to be decided through your status review. Next, last one is brainstorming. Brainstorming is nothing but, as I told you, for one solution, one problem, there will be n number of solution. So which solution will be apt for that particular problem? That will be done using your brainstorming. You are trying to find out a solution. Maybe there may be a standard solution, or you don't want to go for the standard solution. You wanted to have a different solution to be there. Then you can use a brainstorming session to decide what will be the solution. Means like a team discussion. If you are trying to write any vision and mission, we will ask all our HODs, all our faculty members group together and decide what exactly should be involved, what exactly should be done. So everything like brainstorming session. Their point of views, their solution will be given, and from their solution you can select any one which is opt for your particular project. That is your brainstorming session. Next one is release. Release is nothing but your end product. Means your product is complete, your work product is available to your other participant. Maybe it can be a version, one version to another version upgradation, or it can be a new project also, which will be handed over to your end user for using it. So you, before using or before releasing the project, obviously you have to do, if it is a new one, you will be saying it as a version 1. If it is 10th version, you will be saying it as a version. So you have to know what is a batching. You have to know the documentation. You have to document every review things or any changes has happened in your project. That's before your release, you have to do it. So once your release is done, next you have to do your post-mortem review. So post-mortem review is nothing but, once the project is delivered, the end user will be using that. When the end user started using that, the end user may find certain difficulties, and end user may have certain problems of using certain features. So this post-mortem review will collect certain problems, and again they will do a brainstorming session, means a solution for that end user problem, and they will be finding a solution for that, and they may do the review process for the same project, and they can release that project as another version or a patch file to overcome that problem, which is called as your post-mortem review. So post-mortem review simply is nothing but, once your project is delivered to the end user, if end user is having any subsequent problem to use that project, then that have to be analyzed, and that problem have to be given solution. That is comes as your post-mortem review. So you can have, it's just an example is given here for the post-mortem review. Questions about problem that occurred. What kind of communication, negotiation problem have emerged in the development of the system? Eliciting in the sense requirement problem. Solution to those problems. So eliciting other aspects. So what are the other ways of your problem can be improved? And what is the final discussion or issues or proposed solution for your problem? So these things are post-mortem reviews will give you. After that, you will be again going for implementing, correcting that problem and giving it as a patch files. The next one is unplanned communication. So unplanned communication is of 3 types. As I already told you, it is of 3 types. So one is request for clarification, another one is request for change, another one is issue resolution. So what is this request for clarification? So request for clarification, as we told already, there no need to be a planned solution. I mean, no need to be a planned schedule. Suddenly you need to have certain doubt, a certain clarification is need to be required for a project implementation. So immediately you can write that in an email and send to your higher officials or your peer members to give the solution from that. Then it is called as your request for clarification. It no need to come under a planned communication. Suddenly when you are implementing a project, you have a doubt in a code, that particular code have to be given a solution that can be done through a request for clarification. Next, request for change. If any problem is arises, if any solution, you have to change it. Instead of this solution, you want any other solution have to be included in the project. That change can be requested to your higher official. Suddenly there no need to be any planned time. You have to, there is no time that after 1 month only you should ask for any changes. So when you find that particular problem solution may not be appropriate for this particular implementation, you need to have a change to that particular problem. The solution can be changed by using a request for change option. Next, issue resolution is that the same thing. When you have a problem proposed and evaluated, they have to have communicated and implemented. Means that there need to be a solution for a problem, and there may be n number of solution for a problem, but you have to have one solution for that particular problem. That can be a issue resolution. You may have one solution, the other person inside your same team who is working with you can have another solution, but which solution have to be decided for that particular problem will be done as a issue resolution process. So you both can have a understanding, come to an understanding to decide with one. Otherwise you can go for your higher level of people who's having expertise in that particular domain, and you can have your clarification and proceed with the final solution. That is comes under your issue resolution. For these 3 types, you no need to have any planned schedule and all. You can, whenever this problem arises, you can have a particular communication to resolve these problems. Until this is clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so the next one, communication mechanism. So the communication mechanism is nothing but either it can be synchronous or it can be asynchronous. Maria, Maria, actually the duration is only 1 hour. I'll just complete this communication mechanism and I'll stop.
Okay.
Okay, I can understand it is, the throat is paining for me also, but there is no 2 hours of duration. Only 1 hour they have given. So another 5 minutes I'll complete this and I'll stop.
Ma'am, I thought it's for 2 hours. That's
No,
why
no,
I
no, no.
messaged
It's
you.
not for 2 hours. I'll just complete another 5 minutes and I'll stop. Shall I start?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So next one is about your communication mechanism. So communication mechanism, it can be synchronous communication mechanism or asynchronous communication mechanism. So asynchronous communication mechanism, in the sense, the people, those who are inside the communication team, may not be available together. So you can send a mail or you can send a fax. You no need to be available at the same time duration for the communication. That is asynchronous. Synchronous means obviously the people who are involved in the communication have to be available at the same time. So here they are using this old type of techniques, smoke signals and fax machine. So smoke signals, in a sense, when they are at the long distance, like remote people, they are trying to communicate. They will be sending a visual images. Older communication, this is, as of now it is different, but the older communication smoke signals, in the sense, you remember when they have logged in a forest, they have to communicate that they have logged their, so that what they will do, they will throw a fire. That smoke will be a point to indicate to the other people that somebody is there, to locate the position. Usually they'll be using this smoke signal. This is the oldest technique to indicate the position. So similarly, they are keeping the name as smoke signals, means for what it is, for long distance. When both the peoples are at the same time, they wanted to have the communication which is synchronous, so they can use a smoke signal synchronous for long distance communication. It is called as your smoke signals, but exactly it is like a video. It can, smoke signals can be in the form of a video or visual communication. Anything can be there. So fax machine, we know, we'll just type and we will be sending it. It will reach to the person at the end at any time. So they can use any type of communication equipments. So if you wanted to have a communication mechanism, just they have given a simple example here. A client review, a planned communication. So a planned communication can be supported by a synchronous mechanism, right? So that time it can support your asynchronous mechanism also. And if you wanted to give some information, that is, you wanted to give a problem reporting, you wanted to say that I have certain issues, that is unplanned communication can do through your asynchronous mechanism. So mostly your planned communication will done through your synchronous mechanism, and your unplanned communication can be done through your asynchronous mechanism. Even planned communication can also follow an asynchronous mechanism. Once the communication is completed, they can send the document in the form of a fax to the other person who can't attend the particular meeting. So that comes as your asynchronous mechanism. So here they have just given you an example of synchronous mechanism. So how the synchronous mechanism will be supported, what type of things are called as synchronous mechanism and asynchronous mechanism. So here you can have a meeting, face-to-face meeting or telephonic meeting or video meeting. All these things comes under as your synchronous mechanism, because the people who is involved in that communication have to be there at the same time. So that is called as your a synchronous meeting or communication. Means they, whatever we are going through now in the Zoom, it is called as synchronous. Once this communication is completed, the people, those who are not attended this meeting, you will be sending the notes to them. These are the points what we are discussed in this meeting. That is called as your asynchronous communication. That people will not available to the meeting at the same time, but they can come to know the information later, which is through your asynchronous communication. So the asynchronous communication can be in the form of your, the same thing, mail you can use, or any news groups you can use, or you can use any of the websites, like notes kind of a thing you can use for asynchronous way of communication. So they have shown your hallway communication. That hallway communication is this. These are the techniques which is used for your hallway communications. So what is the way of questions, what is the way of structured interviews, all these things comes under your hallway communication. So hallway communications means they are unplanned, informal exchange of information based on opportunities. So two participants may meet at accident, means that they don't need to have a planned thing at all. Unplannedly, if they meet each other and they wanted to have certain communication, then they can do using your hallway conversation. Just like a conversation, they started a problem and they are trying to find out a solution for that particular problem. That comes under your hallway communication. So hallway communication can be like a questionnaire and a structured interviews. You can have a questionnaire. First, what type of a problem is it? How many solution I can get for this particular problem? It's like that. If I have 10 questions, I can have a questionnaire. If it can be structured interviews also. What is a problem in the questionnaire means the other person won't have any option to give his own opinion. So that will be the problem in a questionnaire. Means you are having a set of questions, you are trying to ask that particular questions only. So that is the problem with the questionnaire. But when you have, that is called as your structured interview also. You are already decided the questions and you have using that questions. You are using that questions to get certain answer. So that is comes under your questionnaires and structured interviews. So there is a drawback because you're from your point of view only you're trying to ask the questions. Next one is meeting. So under the hallway, same thing is meeting. So inside meeting, you can have a face-to-face meeting. When you're having a face-to-face meeting, that time you will be having certain role to be assigned to the participants. One person should be organizing of the meeting, another person should record what is exactly happening in the meeting, and another person should schedule the time. If 10 people are there, for every 10 people 5 minutes have to be scheduled. So that is done through your timekeeper. So then after doing that, they have to write what is the meeting agenda, what is the meeting minutes. After completing the meeting, what is the exactly done in the meeting, that is comes under minutes of meeting. Before starting a session, you may have the meeting agenda. What is the location where you have to conduct the meeting, how long you have to conduct the meeting, who and all should be there, what about the things you have to decide. All these things comes under your meeting agenda. So here some few examples given about your meeting agenda. What time you have to do, what about what you're going to discuss, how long you're going to discuss, all things. So this is meeting agenda they have. You can go through this later, but in your exam, you don't want to write all the structures and all. Next is after the meeting is completed, about what and all they have discussed. They have given a simple example as your minutes of the meeting, or we'll take meeting minutes. Right. The next is groupware. So I think, yeah, okay. I'll complete until groupware. So groupware is, as I told you, same time, different place. So this is a groupware. You people are in different places, but we are grouped at the same time for discussing about a certain thing. That is nothing but a classroom, chat room, or this Zoom. All these things comes after your groupware. This is same time, different place groupware. Another one is different time, different place groupware. Simply is asynchronous. Means that different time means that for certain communication, there will be only two people will be involved in that. After that, other persons can get the information through the fax or the document or the videos like that. So that is called as different time, different place groupware. Groupware, as I already told you, groups are nothing but different people who involved in the task, who is doing the same task. Then it is called as your groupware. So different people gathering at the same time is called as synchronous groupware. Different people gathers at different time to get the information, then it is called as asynchronous groupware. So when they will get the different information, for example, in your news channel can have a news. For example, 8 o'clock news will be announced. So every people can assemble at 8 o'clock to see what is the news has happened. Even after 8 o'clock also, the news will be available in your website, in their website, or you can get through the document, or you can get the video. That is called as different time, different place groupware. So different places you can group together and you can get the informations. So these are different types of communication mechanism. Either you can have a hallway communication, or you can have a meeting communication, or you can have a groupware communication. So three types of communication mechanisms can be followed. Is it clear?